This picture show is called Museum Ethnography du Trocadero. It was the first anthropological museum in Paris in the year of 1878. Picasso was influenced by the African masks that he saw in this museum. You will be able to see the influence of the figures of the Proto-Cubist painting in Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. This painting had led to Cubism. By the year of 1935, the museum closed down due to the place being destroyed. During the time the museum was still open, many artists have been influenced by the painting that Pablo Picasso had been working on, which is Demoiselles d'Avignon in 1907. White colonists in the Belgian Congo had caused international outcry and public scandals in Brussels and Paris due to Picasso's article Thought of African Art in Museum Ethnography. By the year of 1670, France had signed the Treaty of Commerce with the King of Bohemia. White colonists in the Belgian Congo had caused international outcry and public scandals in Brussels and Paris due to Picasso's article Thought of African Art in Museum Ethnography. By the year of 1670, France had signed the Treaty of Commerce with the King of Bohemia. This became a huge part of the French Empire of West and Central Africa until the Belgians took over. One of Picasso's most famous works of art is Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, was painted in France and Spain in 1907. It is the most famous of Cubism painting that is generally assigned not only with a historic act of destruction but with one of creation. This painting catches Pablo's thoughts about pre-colonial traditions and European modernist artists in Africa. I will interpret this artwork by explaining more deeply about visuals of his artwork and the meaning. It is an 8-foot and 7-foot 8 inches oil painting on canvas. It is on display in the Museum of Modern Art, New York. Have you ever wondered about what kind of painting this is? If so, what kind of thoughts do you have about it? In this painting, Picasso chose to show social boundaries in between men and women. This is because normally this woman would only be seen by men who are looking for sexual services. Therefore, the woman had no rights like men had. Since these women were prostitutes, Picasso decided to paint their faces as African masks. He chose this because to him it looked like a woman had been ashamed, competent, and strong women that were trapped in tough, unhappy situations. Picasso was known for his interest in primitive art referring to African masks and ancient statuary from the Iberian Peninsula which was around him. There is 5 flat beige women. Each woman has a different shape, pose, and facing different directions. It seems that they were naked and they all have black hair. Each woman has figures of hexagon, rhombus, and lines. They all seem in a room since there is white blue curtain at the background and try to hang on the curtain. In the center has a bowl of fruit which seems to have a pear, orange, grapes, and melon. This is an abstract since they're not real humans. In color scheme, since it has secondary colors such as blue, orange, brown, black, white, and gray. Finally, it is asymmetrical by their bodies, space since the woman is separated from another. The figure of the girl seems geometric. This painting is made with forms, angular planes, shapes, and contours, and is based on race and gender. Before the painting was even created, Picasso was into African tribal and its colonial setting in the year of 1905. In 1907, that was when he began to be influenced for the painting. Picasso examined under the influence of Barcelona modernists that were admired by Iberian and Catalan art. Basically, Picasso is saying that he was into primitivism on modernness of his painting. In the year 1907, Picasso wasn't allowed to primitize by the African art because of the figures he had done at his artwork. The only thing they allowed him was to introduce Africa in the work. The way his work would be an illusion and iconography to all his French viewers. Fundamentally, what this means is Picasso had no right to do this kind of work figures, and he could only be mentioning and introducing Africa in his art work so that the French people wouldn't confuse and they will see the view. Pablo Picasso was a Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, ceramist, stage designer, poet, and playwright who spent of his adult life in France. Picasso was a very creative artist who used to search new ways to express space and forms in his painting. He was born on October 25, 1881 at Malaga, Spain, and died on April 8, 1973 at Moulins, France. Picasso was known as a co-founder Cubist movement, which he started to paint and famous Cubist painter. The painting that Picasso did was from a brothel Avignon Street in Barcelona during 1907. The brothel painfully points out the prostitute laws of freedom. They are bought and sold like slaves. The street walkers that Picasso encountered that they were lower class or prostitutes, often drug addicted and ill, rather than the type of woman Picasso had portrayed in. Barcelona has its origins as an Iberian village that is called Barqueno. This has been the origin over the past 2,000 years. It is located to the coast plain that is between Calcerona Ridge and the Mediterranean Sea. The city of Barcelona is the second largest in Spain and also the capital of the Free Community of Catalonia. Picasso did a self-portrait of himself in 1901. He did this self-portrait of himself the second time he was in Paris during the winter time. In the portrait he was just 20 years old, and it represents his feeling of sadness and loneliness. One of the Picasso's paintings that caught my attention was the one of Guernica, since it was one of the famous artwork he had done. This painting is about fascists devastating casual bombing practice at the Basque town of Guernica during the Spanish Civil War. Guernica shows the strategies of war and the suffering inflicts the individuals that are innocent civilians. This painting has gained a monumental status and it became an everlasting memory of the tragedies of war, anti-war symbol, and an personification of peace. By 1937, Picasso had a secret about when he was at the Museum Ethnography and to Andre Malraux didn't even publish after the Picasso's death. This quote, it was from him. When I went to the old Museum Ethnography, it was disgusting. I was alone. I wanted to get away, but I didn't leave, I stayed. I understand that it was very important. The masks weren't just like any other pieces of sculpture, not at all. They were magic things. They were against everything, against unknown, threatening spirits. I always look at the fetishes. I understood. I'm too against everything. Spirits that unconscious people still weren't talking about that much. Emotion that they weren't the same thing. I understand why I was a painter, all alone in that awful museum, with masks, dolls made by redskins, dusty mannequins. Les Demoiselles d'Avignon must have to come to me that every day, not all because of the forms, because it was my first exorcism painting. Yes, absolutely. This is a drawing that I drew based on the painting that Picasso painted. It is a bit similar to it and it represents the five prostitutes in this painting.